If you are the adult child of a narcissistic or emotionally immature parent, do you have the ability to build a self image or see yourself in your mind's eye as someone who does not have a problem with that? Now, I know that's a tall order. And if you really can't even imagine what life would be like without caring about the fact that your mom or your dad is on the narcissism spectrum, well, know that this is absolutely normal, but it could also be a problem in the long run. The way that we build our sense of identity is important because our outside world reflects the types of problems that we think a person with our identity would have. So I'll give you a personal example. Back in the day, when I did have problems with narcissistic people in general, because I wasn't able to set boundaries, I saw myself as a hyper independent, hyper responsible person. Hey, kitty cat. Now I see myself as someone who can definitely be responsible, but who also knows how to set boundaries when certain things are other people's responsibility. So, because I shifted my self image, I no longer find myself feeling guilty about not taking on responsibilities that aren't mine. Do you understand? But I needed to overcome this identity where I saw myself as this fighter, this warrior. Mind you, I want to be able to go to war if necessary, but I also want to live a life where I'm not at war all the time. If you see yourself as a hardworking person, and this is a integral part of your identity, you might also be the type of person that when your workday is done, you get confused because you don't know what to do, because you don't see yourself as someone who knows how to enjoy leisure time. If you see yourself as someone who is a good person, and because of that, you're always targeted by abusive people, then this is what you're going to have as an outside experience as well. Now, if I tell you to pause at this exact moment, close your eyes and imagine yourself as someone who does not care that your mom or your dad is a narcissist because you set boundaries, you don't take on responsibilities that aren't yours, you don't feel the guilt anymore. You know that your life is yours to do with as you please. And if you can't even imagine yourself as that person, well, first of all, that's normal. But, if you need to start making this effort to see yourself in your mind's eye as someone who doesn't have this problem. Now, let me pause here because I don't want you to feel bad about yourself if you can't imagine yourself in the future, because this is absolutely expected. When we believe that we are in a life or death situation and our brain doesn't know what type of triggers or threats that we're dealing with, all it does is alternate between activating our sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, and then activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to rest, digest, socialize, right? And sometimes both of them are activated. But that's all our mind knows, right? And for people who are still dealing with narcissistic parents and who have them in their lives and haven't set those boundaries yet for a bunch of totally valid reasons, no shade here and no judgment on my part, right? If you're still in that environment or in that relationship, then your nervous system probably senses danger all the time. And this means that it's not going to be able to relax and to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that needs to be activated for your brain to think, we're not in a life or death situation right now, and that means we can think about the future. So I know that when patients and clients and students of mine, they start their processes or courses or they start therapy with me, I can tell how much they're still in the relationship or impacted by the relationship by the complex post-traumatic stress symptoms, right? Stress disorder symptoms. They are so activated, so anxious, so incapable of relaxing that their brain literally shuts down the ability to think about the future. And one of the signs as a therapist that I notice in my patients that their nervous system is finally regulating, that they're finally healing, is that they'll spontaneously start saying things like, "Oh, I've been thinking about moving," or "I've been thinking about going back to school," or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Do you realize what's happening right now? You can think about the future. That's insane." That means that your body is starting to think that it's finally safe to think about anything other than the situation in front of you, right? And guys, If all you see yourself as is the daughter, the people pleasing daughter, or the people pleasing son that is oppressed by their parents, you are never going to have different experiences, because your outside experiences are nothing more than a validation of your internal reality and of your internal identity. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to simplify complex matters. I know some of you are financially dependent. I know some of you have children, and maybe you're dealing with a divorce and you had to go back to your mother's home and she's a narcissist or whatever. And I know some of you are dealing with issues that might take years for you to deal with, be able to relax that nervous system, and be able to start thinking about the future. But don't forget this. Don't forget that part of our growth and healing process as adult children of narcissistic parents means that we need to redefine what our identity is. You can't go around the world seeing yourself as the poor child of a narcissistic parent. Eventually we got to see ourselves as adults who took that life that life gave us, and we're doing the best that we can with that life, and we're calling the shots, and we're not letting family members call the shots, or our trauma or our programming call the shots, right? So guys, what do I want you to do? If you can, I want you to think about the self-image of the adult child of a narcissistic parent that kept you in trouble, and I want you to give me one characteristic that this future self-healed version of yours has. And I want you to tell me in the comments what this contrast looks like. So for example, back in the day, I used to see myself as a good person. Now I see myself as a person who's respectful, but who doesn't take on other people's chaos and crises and doesn't even get involved with them. And why is that important in my mindset? Because I thought back then that being a good person meant that I automatically needed to get personally involved with anyone else's crisis or chaos. And when I shifted that in my head, when I shifted this idea that I wasn't a bad person for not getting personally involved, then I started being able to also set those boundaries and distance myself from all of the people, even outside of the family, that were draining me, right? So what's the difference between the way that you used to view yourself, and that was formed by your reactions to your narcissistic family system, right? Your personality had to react to that system and you had to adapt. So what's the difference between that old identity versus the person that your future self wants you to become? Can you tell me that difference in the comments below? That's going to be really important for you to actually become this person who looks at content about narcissism online in a few years and literally feels indifference, right? It's like, I don't care, that's not an issue for me anymore, right? If you're still in the thick of it right now, know that this is possible, but it involves activating that part of the brain that takes you mentally to a reality where you're not dealing with all of this horrible pain all the time. All right. Now, if you liked this content, it helped you, then reach out for one-on-one sessions, or you can download your Break the Chains roadmap, 10 steps to break free from your narcissistic family system.